In 2022, all the smartphone manufacturers combined sold about 14 million foldable phones, with Samsung taking the lion's share, 80% or so, about 12 million foldable phones, which sounds like a lot until you realize the fact that in the same year, all the smartphone manufacturers combined sold 1.4 billion with a B. Do the math and you'll see that in 2022, foldables only had about 1% of the share of total sales. With Samsung, Motorola, and even TCL pushing foldables so hard, why aren't they selling more? Why aren't foldables mainstream yet? I think it comes down to three main reasons, one of which I hate to say I think only Apple can solve. It comes down to affordability, durability, and software ability. Software ability really isn't a word, is it? Affordability is, of course, always subjective in nature, but I think we can all agree that affordability is a problem here. You have two main types of foldable smartphones on the market now. You have either the foldable that starts out compact and turns into a traditional smartphone, or you have... Right, I had to send back the other review unit, sorry. This is just an old foldable. You have the smartphone that folds out into a tablet-like format. The first kind comes in like the Galaxy Flip, the Motorola Razr, and so on. The second kind, of course, the Galaxy Fold, the more recent Pixel Fold, and so on. But what's that have to do about affordability? Well, these phones cost around $1,000. Now think about what you can get for $1,000. You can get a super high-end smartphone with the best cameras, the best processors, the best screens, the best everything. Flagship phones. With these phones, however, you get a bundle of compromises. We'll get to the screen later. In general, the cameras that come in these phones are nowhere near as nice as the flagship phone you can get for the same price. And as for the foldables that become a tablet, well, those are $1,800, whether you're talking the Galaxy Z Flip or the new Pixel Fold. That's a lot of money no matter how you slice it, and it still comes with some compromises, primarily, again, the cameras, which aren't as nice as their flagship equivalents. The Google Pixel 7 Pro has a nicer camera than the Pixel Fold. The Galaxy S23 has a nicer camera than even the newly released Galaxy Z Flip Fold 5. The truth is, so long as these phones cost flagship prices or more and aren't as good as flagship phones on every spec, including cameras, then they are not affordable and they call for compromises, and you should not have compromises when paying premium prices. The second problem I think everyone is aware of, which is durability. What Samsung and other companies did to make a screen that flexes and folds is downright impressive and a marvel of engineering. The hinge alone on these things is constantly evolving and iterating, and Samsung's take on an ultra-thin glass, which is essentially plastic and glass mixed together, is still pretty impressive. But at the end of the day, these phones are just not durable and not ready for the average human who drops phones on a regular basis. People are going to damage the interior screen, which requires a built-in screen protector that cannot be removed, or should not be removed at the very least. Some people have gotten away with it. If you take it off though, you run the risk of scratching the irreplaceable screen. And if you keep it on, well, you have plastic on top, which feels worse and isn't as protective. You can scratch it with a fingernail. Just not good enough. And we still haven't gotten to the fact that that's not the entire durability issue. Samsung's foldables are water resistant, which is already a step up from most other foldables, but they are not dust resistant. So if you get any dust inside the hinge, or even really inside this screen as you fold it shut constantly, you run the risk of damaging your equipment. The truth is, unless you're very ginger and careful, there's a good chance you'll destroy your foldable phone in 2 years or less, which is not great. But the final problem with foldables is one that's just unavoidably unsolvable for most manufacturers, and that's software ability. No, that's just still not a good word. The software at the end of the day. But think about it this way. If you have to choose between an iPad and any other tablet whatsoever, which one are you going to pick? The iPad, of course. This isn't just an iOS is better than Android kind of scenario. We're talking about something very specific, and that's the tablet interfaces. Android's tablet software is decent at this point. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But using an Android tablet is still a subpar experience despite great hardware and a decent OS, because at the end of the day, developers still haven't embraced Android tablets and they have not updated their apps to properly work on Android tablets. That presents Google with a great big issue, a chicken and egg issue. How do you sell tablets when the apps aren't ready for the tablets? How do you get the apps ready for the tablets when you aren't selling the tablet hardware? Developers need a reason to create this software. But without the hardware sales, there's just no good reason to go ahead and take that extra effort. It's hard to get exact numbers, but iPad tablets continue to outsell Android tablets, especially in the premium category. The Android tablets that do sell tend to be the very low-end, very cheap Walmart specials. What does that have to do with foldables? Well, these foldables want to become tablets. And when you go into that mode, the experience isn't as good. Samsung has tried to help some. They've gone through a lot of effort to make the multitasking environment more pleasing, and Google has tried to catch up with its own newer updates to Android to make multitasking better. But at the end of the day, a blown up app on a foldable and tablet mode is just not a great experience. This is an area where Apple could maybe change the game, because developers do like making iPad apps, but I don't think we're going to see an Apple foldable anytime soon. Much as it's been rumored for years and years and years, Apple tends to slow walk these things until they're satisfied that the experience is perfect. And so long as affordability is an issue and durability is an issue, I think they're going to hold off. Affordability is not something even Apple can magic its way out of. Even a fully decked out iPhone 14 Pro Max with a terabyte of storage lands at about $1,600, less than the starting price for Samsung and Google's foldable phones. And those come with lesser storage. And durability is just not something that Apple's going to solve on its own either. Keep in mind that Apple sources its screens from other manufacturers, primarily Samsung in some cases, and that's likely where it would have to get its foldable screens as well. So Apple is held back by Samsung on fixing its greatest durability issue, that plastic/ultra thin glass screen. Now, does that mean foldables will never take off? No, but it's going to be a very long time. I do see a future where foldables are at least a viable alternative. Not something everyone will choose because not everyone needs one, and you could probably still save a buck by going with a traditional phone. There will likely always be compromises, whether that be on price or durability or features, because at the end of the day, the folding section does cost extra to make happen, both in a more complicated screen to produce and the hinges involved. You're going to have to give something up to get the price down. But I do think we can get to a point where they're durable enough and where they're affordable enough that the average person could at least consider such a phone. But at the end of the day, so long as it costs more to buy a smartphone and a tablet, then it's just not worth buying a smartphone that becomes a tablet. You get a compromised experience that isn't as good as either phone by itself, even when you get the good phone and the good tablet, all for the sake of some convenience that is somewhat questionable and durability that is definitely questionable. My prediction is it'll be at least another 5 years before foldables can really say that they're mainstream and purchased by the average consumer. Hey, if you stuck around to the end, I really appreciate you. Thank you for watching all of this. If you could, please give this video a like and give the channel a subscription. Until next time.